Your last delivery order was padded by more than half, and you paid it without ever seeing where. Pull up the receipt and really look. The food, the thing you were actually hungry for, is maybe half of what you paid. The rest is a stack of lines with names like service fee, delivery fee, and a regulatory response fee that nobody has ever explained to you. When the firm's Self Financial ran the same fast food order through the app and through the front door, it went from $37 picked up in person to $63 on DoorDash. Same food, 70% more. Order even once a week, and that gap quietly cost you well over $1,000 a year for the crime of not wanting to leave your house. And here's the part that should really stop you. If you never open the app at all, if you walk in, pay cash, and carry your own food out, you might still be helping pay for it. And here's the thing you've been told about why. You've heard that these delivery apps are desperate, that they lose money on every order, that they're bleeding cash just to survive, and that's why the fees are so brutal. It's a comforting story. It's also completely out of date. Because in 2024, DoorDash turned its first profit in its entire history, and in 2025 it made $935 million. So the interesting question is no longer whether DoorDash makes money, it's where. Because I promise you, it is not that delivery fee you resent. The real machine is something else entirely, an advertising business bolted on top of your dinner. And the strangest part? Even the person sitting inside the restaurant eating off a real plate, who never opened the app in their life, may be paying for it too. Let me show you how a company that loses money on delivery quietly became one of the fastest growing ad businesses in America. Start with the scale, because the numbers only make sense once you separate them, and almost every take on this gets them tangled. In 2025, about $102 billion of orders flowed through DoorDash. That's not its revenue. That's the total value of everything you and I bought, the food, the tax, the tips, the fees. Out of that $102 billion, DoorDash actually kept about $13.7 billion as its own revenue, roughly 13 cents of every dollar that moved through the app. And out of all of that, its actual profit was $935 million, which sounds enormous until you set it against the pile it came from. It's less than 1 cent of profit for every dollar you ordered. Sit with that. On $102 billion of food after everything, under 1% falls to the bottom line. Nearly half of what DoorDash earns goes straight back out the door. The payment processing, the insurance, the support staff, the cost of actually running a national delivery network. So the delivery business, the thing with its name on it, barely makes a cent. It runs on fumes. And that is not an accident, and it is not a weakness. Delivery isn't how DoorDash makes its money. Delivery is the bait. Here is what it's really building. In its own words, not mine, theirs, DoorDash says its advertising arm has become the fastest growing retail media network in history. Retail media network. That's the same phrase Amazon uses for the ad business that quietly prints much of its profit. By DoorDash's own account, that ad business, its own plus Wolt, the delivery app it owns overseas, crossed a run rate of $1 billion a year in 2024, with over 150,000 businesses paying into it. Read that again. The company you think of as the app that brings you a burrito is increasingly an advertising platform that happens to also move food. And here's why that's the prize, not the delivery. When DoorDash sells an ad, there's no driver to pay, no insurance, no cold burrito to refund. It's just pixels, a slightly higher slot on a screen it already built. The delivery dollar comes with an army of costs attached. The ad dollar comes with almost none. That's why every giant of the internet has chased this exact business. It's the reason Amazon, a company famous for razor-thin retail margins, quietly makes a huge share of its profit selling ads on its own store. DoorDash looked at that and realized it was sitting on the same goldmine, a captive audience, hungry, wallet already open, staring at a screen. Its pitch to restaurants is blunt. Spend $1 with us on ads and we'll bring you $6 back. Whether that math holds is DoorDash's own claim from DoorDash's own studies, but it doesn't have to be true for the machine to work. It only has to be believed by enough restaurants to keep the auction full. So how does the ad machine work? When you open the app and search pizza, the order those restaurants show up in is not neutral. Restaurants bid in a live auction to sit higher on your screen. It works like this. A restaurant sets the most it's willing to pay to win a customer, and if it wins the auction, it pays just enough to beat the next highest bidder, and only when someone actually places an order. Pay to be seen. But, and this is the part that matters, the restaurant is already paying DoorDash a commission just to be on the platform at all. So it pays to exist there, and then it pays again to be found there. The ad is a second toll on top of the first, and that first toll is heavier than you think. To be listed on DoorDash, a restaurant hands over 15, 25, or 30% of every order, depending on the plan it picks. And that word is doing a lot of work. The cheapest plan buries you. Fewer eyes, fewer orders. Want to actually be seen? You climb to the 25 or the 30% plan. So the choice is really this. Pay a smaller cut and stay invisible, or pay a bigger cut for the visibility you needed in the first place. And then remember, you can still pay for ads on top of that to climb even higher. Every rung of the ladder is another slice of the same pie, 30%. Think about what a restaurant actually keeps after rent, food, and labor. The margins are famously thin single digits for a lot of them. There is no version of the math where a restaurant absorbs a 30% cut in a bidding war for visibility out of a 5% margin. It can't, so it does the only thing it can. It raises the price of the food on the app, and it does. Economists have measured this cleanly. Prices inside the delivery apps run about 27% higher than the exact same items ordered directly from the restaurant. 20% markups on the menu are routine, so that 70% more on your receipt, a big chunk of it isn't even the delivery fee. It's that the $12 burrito quietly became a $15 burrito the moment it entered the app, before a single fee was added, and when cities tried to step in, the system just flexed around them. When places like New York and Chicago passed laws capping how much DoorDash could charge restaurants, DoorDash didn't eat the difference. It added a new line to your receipt, in some cities literally labeled a regulatory response fee, and billed you instead. The cap was meant to shield the restaurants. DoorDash's answer was to hand the bill to the diner. The toll doesn't disappear when you push on it. It just moves to whichever pocket is least able to say no. And there are a lot of those pockets. DoorDash controls roughly 2/3 of American food delivery. This isn't a niche app. It's the front door to eating in this country. But here's the twist the lazy version of the story completely misses. You'd assume DoorDash wants those prices as high as possible. More markup, more commission, more money. It's the opposite. DoorDash actively pushes restaurants to keep their app prices matched to their in-store prices. It gives them a little badge that says menu matches in-store prices, and it rewards those restaurants with better visibility. Its own research found that when a restaurant marks its menu up on the app, it can lose up to 37% of its sales. Because customers aren't stupid, they notice. So DoorDash isn't the villain twirling a mustache secretly inflating your burrito. The truth is stranger and more structural than that. DoorDash takes the commission. The commission forces the restaurant to raise the price, and then DoorDash turns around and pressures the restaurant to charge that same raised price to everyone. Which brings us to the strangest consequence of the whole system, and the one I have to be the most careful about. Think about what that price matching pressure actually asks of a restaurant. Running two separate menus, one marked up price for the app, one lower price at the counter, is a genuine hassle. It means two sets of prices, two systems, constant updating. So some owners just give up and do the simple thing. They raise their prices everywhere. One menu, the higher one. Which means the person who walks in waits at the counter and pays cash for a meal they carry out themselves. A person who has never paid DoorDash a nickel can end up paying a price that was inflated to survive DoorDash. And there's no line for that on the receipt. No DoorDash tax printed anywhere. It's just folded into the number on the menu, a cost you would never know is there. Here is what's proven and here is what isn't, because this is the claim everyone reaches for and almost nobody handles carefully. What is documented solidly? App prices run about 27% above ordering direct. That the app's reward price matching is documented. It's DoorDash's own program. And that those markups were often hidden from customers, that's not just an activist claim. It's part of what the city of Chicago alleged in a lawsuit that DoorDash settled for $18 million in 2025. without admitting any wrongdoing. What is not cleanly proven, and I won't pretend it is the last step, that this specifically drives up the price of your dine-in meal. No one has measured that at the register. It is a strong logical inference that economists and critics argue follows from the structure. It is not yet a number on a spreadsheet. But you can see the whole machine leaning that way, and someone does drive your food, so let's be fair to the whole picture. DoorDash says it helped generate around $18 billion in earnings for its drivers in a year, though a large share of that is your tips, not DoorDash's money, and it works out to only about a fifth of the total order value reaching the person on the bike. There was a genuine scandal here years back where the app quietly used customer tips to cover the base pay it owed drivers. But that's settled, it's in the past, and today tips are passed through in full. The labor story is real, but it's not the hidden engine. The hidden engine is the ads. So let me be genuinely fair, because this story has a real other side. DoorDash is not a fat, lazy toll booth. It lost billions of dollars for years, building a delivery network across an entire country before it ever made a cent. And even now, its profit is under 1% of everything ordered. That is the shape of an infrastructure business, not a racket. Somebody really does drive your food across town in the cold, and for a small restaurant, the app is genuine reach it could never afford on its own. The majority of merchants say they'd sell less without it. The ads in the premium tiers are things restaurants choose to buy in an auction they enter voluntarily, because more visibility really does mean more orders. Nobody is forced to pay 30%. This is not a scam. It is something subtler and more permanent, a toll that learned how to sell advertising. So the next time your food arrives and you look down at that receipt, the one where the meal is half the total, remember what you're actually holding. You are not really looking at the price of delivery. You are looking at a commission the restaurant paid to be there, plus an ad it paid to be seen, plus a markup it added to survive both. A markup it may now be charging the person standing at the counter too. The delivery was never the business. The delivery was the thing that got 150,000 restaurants and 100 million of us to line up inside the real business, the auction. Do me a favor, next time you open the app and a restaurant is sitting right at the top, ask yourself one question. Did that place earn the top spot, or did it just outbid everyone else for it? And then do one more thing. Pull up your last delivery receipt, add up every single line that isn't the food, and put that number in the comments. Because the food was always just the thing on the screen. The screen itself was the product.